Most plans don't fail because they are too big. They fail because they never get protected. People don't lack ideas. They lack discipline. Everyone has a plan. Very few have a process. They plan with excitement, but live with inconsistency. They write goals on paper, but never write habits into their lives. And then they wonder why nothing changes. Here's the truth. It's not what you intend to do. It's what you actually do that determines the outcome. Plans fail early, quietly, before the world ever sees them, not because life is unfair, but because discipline was never invited into the plan. Today, we're going to talk about why most plans collapse before they ever begin, and more importantly, how to make sure yours doesn't. Because success is predictable, and failure is predictable too. The difference is what you do after the plan is written. Most people feel productive long before they become effective. They plan, they organize, they write things down, and then they stop. Planning feels good. It gives the mind a sense of progress without demanding effort. But feeling productive is not the same as being productive. A plan on paper changes nothing until action enters the room. This is where most plans quietly die. Not from failure, from neglect. People mistake intention for commitment. They say, I'm going to, but they never decide when. And without a when, nothing happens. The mind loves planning because planning is safe. Action is risky. Action exposes effort. Action invites discomfort. Action produces results or failure. Planning keeps the ego comfortable. Action tests character. This is why people return to planning again and again. They rewrite goals. They redesign schedules. They buy new notebooks. But the habits never change. Here's a hard truth. Don't mistake activity for accomplishment. A plan without action is nothing more than a wish with structure. People don't need better plans. They need better execution. Execution is uncomfortable. It requires discipline. And discipline is not exciting. Discipline is repetitive, boring, predictable, which is exactly why it works. Most plans fail because they are built for inspiration, not consistency. They depend on motivation, but motivation is unreliable. Motivation shows up when life is easy. Discipline shows up when life is hard. A plan that cannot survive a bad mood was never strong to begin with. Another illusion is perfection. People wait until the plan feels complete, until the timing feels right, until confidence arrives. But confidence comes after action, not before. Perfection delays progress. Progress creates momentum. Plans collapse when people expect clarity first. Clarity follows movement. You don't plan your way into courage. You act your way into it. There's also fear of commitment. Planning keeps options open. Action closes doors. And closing doors makes people nervous. Because once you act, you are accountable. If you don't act, you can still pretend. Pretend you were about to start. Pretend life got in the way. Pretend next week will be different. Planning without action protects excuses. But excuses don't build lives. Another reason plans fail is because they are too big and too vague. Get in shape. Be successful. Change my life. Big ideas. Small execution. Plans must be broken down into daily actions. Not someday. Today, success is not achieved. In the future, it is practiced daily. And here's the most important part. Action creates feedback. Plans on paper cannot teach you. Action does. Action reveals what works. Action exposes what doesn't. Without action, you remain stuck in imagination. Imagination is comfortable. Reality is demanding. But reality is where growth lives. Plans don't fail because life is They fail because action was optional. Make action mandatory. Schedule it. Protect it. Repeat it. Don't wait to feel ready. Readiness follows repetition. The moment you act, your plan gains life. Without action, a plan is just ink. With action, it becomes a process. And process is how success is built. A plan without a schedule is not a plan. It is a hope. People say, I'll work on it tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. And one day, they look back and say, I don't know where the time went. Time went where you let it go. A plan lives or dies. On the calendar. If it's not scheduled, it's not real. People schedule meetings. They schedule entertainment. They schedule obligations. But they leave their future unscheduled. And then they wonder why nothing changes. Here's the truth. Time is never found. It is allocated. You don't get extra time for important things. You must take it from unimportant ones. A schedule is not a prison. It is protection. Protection from distractions. Protection from excuses. Protection from drift. Most people drift through their days. They react. They respond. They adjust. But they never direct. A schedule is direction on paper. It tells your time, where to go. Without a schedule, your plan competes with everything else. And everything else usually wins. Urgent beats important. Easy beats meaningful. Entertainment beats effort. Not because people are lazy, but because they never decided when the work would happen. Discipline begins with a start time, not with motivation. When the clock says go, you go. No debate, no negotiation. This is how professionals live. Amateurs wait for feelings. Professionals honor the schedule. Another reason plans fail without a schedule is decision fatigue. Every day you ask, should I work on this today? You waste energy. A schedule removes the question. It replaces it with a commitment. Once it's written down, the decision is made. You don't decide daily. You execute daily. People also overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. A schedule fixes this illusion. It breaks dreams into manageable actions. 1 hour a day sounds small, but 1 hour a day for a year changes everything. A plan without time blocks has no pressure. And without pressure, there is no progress. Pressure is not stress. Pressure is focus. A deadline sharpens effort. A scheduled task demands respect. People say, I don't like schedules. What they really mean is, I don't like accountability. But accountability is freedom. Freedom from regret. Freedom from wasted potential. When you schedule your priorities, you protect your future. Another mistake. People schedule too much. They create unrealistic days. Then they fail and quit entirely. The schedule must be reasonable. It must match reality. Better to schedule small and win consistently than schedule big and lose daily. Consistency beats intensity. A simple schedule, honored daily, beats a perfect plan, ignored weekly. And here's the final truth. If you don't control your calendar, someone else will. Work will fill it. Noise will fill it. Distractions will fill it. And your dreams will be squeezed out. A plan deserves time, not leftover time, dedicated time. Put your future on the calendar. Give it a start time. Give it a place. Give it respect. Because when a plan meets a schedule, progress becomes inevitable. Patience is not passive. It is active endurance. Most people quit, not because they can't do the work, but because they can't wait for the results. They plant the seed in the morning and dig it up at night to see if it's growing. And then they say, it doesn't work. Nature doesn't rush, yet everything gets done. Success follows the same law. There is always a delay between effort and reward. This delay is where character is built, but it's also where most people give up. They say, I've been doing this for weeks. Weeks. Great results are not on a weekly schedule. They're on a seasonal schedule. You don't change a life in a weekend. You change a life by showing up long after the excitement is gone. The world has trained us to expect speed, fast food, fast money, fast recognition. But personal growth is slow, and that's not a flaw. That's protection. If success came quickly, everyone would have it. Patience filters out the uncommitted. Another mistake people make. They confuse movement with progress. They work hard for a short time, then they stop when the applause doesn't come. But results don't respond to enthusiasm. They respond to consistency. You don't get paid for what you start. You get paid for what you finish. And finishing takes time. Patience is believing that today's effort matters, even when you can't see proof. It's trusting the process when evidence is missing. This is maturity. Impatience is emotional. Patience is strategic. Impatience says, if I don't see results soon, I'll change direction. Patience says, if this is the right direction, I'll stay long enough to let it work. Many people quit just before the breakthrough, not because the plan failed, but because the timer hadn't expired yet. The harvest always comes after the work, never before. You can't negotiate timing. You can only negotiate effort, and effort compounds quietly. No announcements, no headlines, just steady progress. Behind the scenes, patience also protects you from discouragement. When you expect fast results, every delay feels like failure. But when you expect the wait, you stay calm. You stay steady. You stay in the game. The longest journeys require the strongest resolve. Patience keeps you aligned when motivation fades, because motivation is temporary. Character is permanent. People ask, how long should I keep going? Longer than you feel like. Longer than seems reasonable. Until the process catches up to the effort, and it always does. If you keep showing up, here's the quiet truth. Time is going to pass anyway. The question is, will you use that time to build something, or will you spend it? Starting over repeatedly? Starting over is exhausting. Staying patient is powerful. Small improvements over a long period create massive change. One day, people will call it overnight success, but you'll know better. You'll remember the waiting, the silence, the days when nothing happened, except discipline. And that's what made it work. Patience is not waiting. It is working while waiting. And those who master this eventually master results. Busy is not productive. Movement is not momentum. And activity is not achievement. One of the greatest traps people fall into is mistaking motion for progress. They do many things, but they finish very little. They feel tired, but they don't feel fulfilled, because exhaustion without results is discouraging. You can be busy all day and still go nowhere, like a rocking chair. Lots of movement, no distance. Most people don't fail from lack of effort. They fail from lack of direction. They start tasks without priorities. They respond instead of led. They confuse urgency with importance. And at the end of the day, they say, I worked hard. But the real question is, did it move the needle? Progress has a destination. Activity just has noise. Progress requires clarity. Activity requires only energy. Energy is common. Clarity is rare. That's why progress is uncommon. Another danger. People use activity to avoid discomfort. They stay busy so they don't have to think. They answer emails instead of making decisions. They organize instead of creating. They prepare instead of committing. Preparation feels safe. Progress feels risky because progress demands accountability. Once you choose the few important actions, you can no longer hide behind busyness. Real progress asks hard questions. What matters most? What produces results? What should be done today? Even if it's uncomfortable, progress is usually simple. But simple does not mean easy. Simple actions require discipline, and discipline is rarely exciting. That's why people prefer complex activity. Complexity creates the illusion of importance, but complexity often delays results. Progress prefers focus. Activity prefers variety. If you do 10 things poorly, you feel busy. If you do one thing well, you move forward. Progress demands elimination, cutting distractions, saying no, stopping things that don't serve the goal. Most people add more. Few people subtract. Yet subtraction creates space for growth. Here's the truth. Results don't respond to effort alone. They respond to the right effort. Digging in the wrong place won't find water. No matter how hard you dig, progress is alignment. Activity is scattered energy. At the end of each day, ask a better question. Not, was I busy? But, what did I complete that moves me closer? Completion creates confidence. Confidence creates momentum. Momentum creates results. Without completion, motivation fades. Because unfinished work drains energy. Finished work feeds it. Another mistake, people chase visible activity because it feels rewarding. But the most valuable work is often invisible. Thinking, planning, practicing, improving skills. No applause, no recognition, just quiet progress. But that's where advantage is built. Progress compounds. When activity aligns with purpose, when effort serves a clear aim, when action is intentional. Busy people are exhausted. Productive people are satisfied. Exhaustion asks for rest. Satisfaction asks for more. Progress gives you energy. Activity consumes it. You don't need to do more. You need to do better. Better choices. Better focus. Better use of time. When you stop confusing activity with progress, your life accelerates. Not because you move faster, but because you move in the right direction. And direction always beats speed. Most people don't fail. They quit, not because they are incapable, but because they are impatient. They plant the seed, then dig it up to see if it's growing. And when they don't see results, they assume nothing is happening. But growth is silent at first. Roots grow before fruit shows, and life follows. The same law, quitting early, creates a special kind of pain. The pain of almost successful, almost disciplined, almost consistent, almost free. That pain lasts longer than the pain of effort, because effort ends. Regret does not. Incomplete effort is expensive. You invest time, energy, hope, then walk away before the return arrives. That's like paying tuition and leaving before the lesson. The price is paid, but the value is never collected. Most people quit at the wrong time, right before the breakthrough, right before competence appears, right before confidence is born. Because progress feels slowest, just before it accelerates. The problem isn't the plan. The problem is the patience. People underestimate how long success takes and overestimate how hard it must feel. They expect results too soon, and when reality arrives, they retreat. But anything worthwhile demands endurance. Skill requires repetition. Character requires consistency. Success requires staying power. Another danger. Quitting teaches the wrong lesson. Each time you quit, you train yourself to escape discomfort, and your mind remembers. Next time effort is required, quitting becomes familiar. easy, normal, but persistence works the same way. Each time you stay, you strengthen resolve. You build identity. I am the kind of person who finishes. That belief changes everything. Most success is not intensity. It's duration, not heroic effort, but ordinary effort, done for an extraordinary length of time. Small actions, repeated daily, beat massive actions, done occasionally. Incomplete effort creates broken momentum. You start, stop, restart. Each time losing speed. Momentum hates interruption. It thrives on continuity. That's why consistency feels powerful, and inconsistency feels exhausting. Quitting early steals your future strength, because strength is built by staying past discomfort, past boredom, past doubt. The moment you want to quit is often the moment you need to continue, not recklessly, but deliberately, with renewed commitment. There's another cost. Lost self-trust. Every promise you break to yourself weakens confidence. And confidence is the foundation of action. If you don't trust yourself, motivation disappears. But when you finish what you start, self-respect grows. And self-respect fuels ambition. You don't need more talent. You need more follow-through. Talent opens the door. Follow-through keeps you inside. Many people are gifted. Few are committed long enough to cash in the gift. Success is rented, and the rent is due every day. Miss too many payments, and eviction comes quietly. No announcement, no drama, just stalled progress. Staying requires faith. Faith in the process. Faith in unseen results. Faith that today's effort is shaping tomorrow's reward. You don't finish because you feel like it. You finish because you decided to. Decision creates endurance. Emotion creates excuses. If you commit long enough, results eventually surrender. Not because they're kind, but because persistence outlasts resistance. Every long-term success has one thing in common. They stayed when it was boring, when it was slow, when it was lonely, when quitting felt logical. And because they stayed, life eventually changed. Don't quit, because progress is invisible. Invisible progress is still progress. The harvest comes to those who wait and work. Finish the season. Complete the effort. Let patience collect what effort started, because unfinished work keeps you where you are, but completed effort changes who you become. So here we are, at the end of the thought, but not at the end of the journey, because ideas don't change lives. Decisions do. You don't need a new year. You don't need a new plan. You don't need perfect conditions. You need commitment, the kind that stays. When motivation fades, when progress feels slow, when no one is clapping, stay. Stay with the discipline. Stay with the process. Stay with the promise you made to yourself, because life rewards finishers, not starters, not planners, finishers. Remember this. You don't fail because you lack ability. You fail when you stop applying it. Success is not mysterious. It's methodical. Simple things, done consistently, over time. Let patience do its work. Let effort compound. Let character grow quietly. And one day, without warning, you'll look back and realize you didn't quit, and that made all the difference. So go forward with resolve, with discipline, with endurance. And whatever you do, don't stop